The views, opinions, and conclusions expressed in the following program are those of the host, guests, and/or callers, and not those of REL-MAR McConnell Media Company, our corporate divisions or entities, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, Simul Radio, Simul TV, our staff, management, advertisers, broadcast affiliates, and affiliated broadcast networks.
Welcome to Know the Name, Know the Genius in You, where in a single moment you can recognize your brilliance and change your life. This is a transformational hour that covers an array of topics that demonstrate how individuals use their native talents, as shown in their name, to look at the ordinary in extraordinary ways. I always remind you that Albert Einstein once said that everybody's a genius. So why would one of the smartest people on the planet declare that everyone's a genius unless he knew that to be true? I'm your host, Sharon Lynn Wyeth, creator of Namology Science and author of Know the Name, Know the Person. In every show, you get to hear how other people have discovered their own genius and what they were able to accomplish. At the end of the show, you always get to hear a little bit about the letters in their name, and if you have those letters, that you would have that ability also. So, how does someone express their creative talents, and how do they share those gifts with others in such a way that everybody benefits? Our expert tonight is Sharry Edwards, who's developed her genius in the area of science, specializing in bioacoustics. Now, Sharry Edwards has done the most remarkable job in breaking the sound barriers of disease and interpreting how sound affects our health. Sharry is the acknowledged pioneer in the emerging field of vocal profiling using bioacoustics biology. She has provided the leading edge research for years to show the frequencies of the voice can be used to create a holographic representation of health and wellness. Now, her research has caught the attention of large pharmaceutical houses, government agencies, alternative health providers, and those who wish to create a better future. Recently, AT&T declared that bioacoustics is the medicine of the future. Now, Sharry uses her bioacoustics frequency patterns to shed light on what's happening in our bodies. Bioacoustics frequency is not used as a diagnostic tool to label anyone with a specific disease. Instead, it's used to assist in the understanding of what's happening in the body, like if there's inflammation, if you have nutritional deficiencies or other health challenges, it can point those out. Now, all of this is done based on sound. For legal reasons, I want to reiterate that bioacoustic frequency does not diagnose anyone's disease. So for health conditions, you always want to see your physician. However, bioacoustics frequency is a remarkable tool for understanding our bodies. Now, Sharry Edwards was named Scientist of the Year in 2002 by the International Association for New Science for her work in bioacoustics biology. Welcome back. I want to say this is our fourth time we've had you on the show, Sharry. I love it when you're able to come join us. Welcome to Know the Name, Know the Genius in You radio show.
Thank you. It's great to be back.
Now, Sharry, I've had you on the show numerous times as your information is so vital to people's well-being and health. And for those individuals who have joined us since you were last on, would you please explain what bioacoustics is and what it does?
Well, body, acoustics, sound. So you give off sound with your mouth. You also give out a sound from your ear, but it's much lower than you can hear. And if you could hook up a microphone to your brain gives sound. And if you could hook a microphone to your cells give off sound. So the body is constantly changing and giving off different sounds that can be measured as frequency.
So how is the state of our health found in our voice? How do those correlate?
Think about your brain as a central processing unit, and it gives off frequencies all the time. It receives frequencies all the time through the recurrent laryngeal nerve and the parasympathetic nerve bundle. In that bundle is your vocal cords. So as this information from your toe and your spleen and wherever is being sent back to the brain as a check, spleen checking in, spleen okay, toe check, toe okay. So the frequencies are in a certain range for your toe or for your spleen or your liver or whatever. If they aren't within that range, the body usually sends some kind of pain signal or takes sound away, frequency away. So the body is a bundle of sound as we measure it. And if we could just measure it all in frequency, your body's this constant pool of frequencies on several different layers. Like it could be 10 cycles per second, and that's the note of E, or double that 20, double that 40, double that 80. And every frequency in the body has a certain octave and patterns that go with it to make up its harmonics. And the more harmonic a song is, the more pleasant it is to hear, at least for me. I don't like heavy metal stuff. But if the body isn't harmonic, we call that disease.
That's very fascinating to me because I look at the frequency that each letter makes and I associate that with a particular behavior in someone's personality. That's what namology science is. So all of this is so fascinating. Do you think that vibrational medicine is the way of our future?
Absolutely. It is the future, but we can take it a step further and say math is the medicine of the future. Math and vibration are just interchangeable forms of energy, of frequency, of disease. So we just need to learn how to interpret it.
It's interesting to me that you would say that. Of course, I'm a little bit prejudiced here, I will admit, because I have a major in math and I have my master's. So just a little prejudiced of the math. But I look at it that from teaching in schools for over 40 years, and I've watched how our textbooks have changed, how they're asking us to teach math has changed, and it's like we're dumbing down our students. Do you think part of this might be so that we cannot connect these things of math and medicine and health?
I think it's being manipulated that way, but Brian Butterworth wrote a book about how we are programmed for math at a very, very early age. Discovery Channel did a video about it. Even kids that can just set up, and you'd think they aren't processing math, but they know the difference between amounts and where something is, where the largest amount is. It's in there. It's in our DNA. Your DNA has 4 notes, A, B, C, D, and everything else, as is our music, is a combination of those notes in one way or the other. So I think we took our DNA and somehow brought that outside and created music. We somehow brought the information from our brain, and the brain ranges and brought that out and created computers. So I think I'm prejudiced. Everything can be measured at one point as math.
Well, and Disney even said in his video of Donald Duck in Math Magic Land that math is the language of the universe. And he felt that way, that's how the whole universe communicates.
I totally believe it. Sylvester James Oates from Brown University, he is a theoretical physicist, and he took a group of students out, and they were studying math or studying plants over the summer, and they found mathematical codes, binary codes that are the same codes that we use to make corrections in computer languages. So he surmises that the plants are just a simulation. Now, Elon Musk takes a step further and says everything's a simulation, like the Matrix. But consider what we're doing. Listening to people's voices, seeing what's there, what's too much, what's too little, what is out of tune, so to speak, and giving them back the frequencies they need, and the body heals itself. So did we just prove that not only do plants have this math code, but humans do also? Are we simply very sophisticated, self-programming robots? And if so, we are property of some maker. That's fascinating to think about.
That is, I mean, that's got my brain swirling. Well, this is the part of the show where we like to analyze our guest's name. Are you ready?
Ready.
Okay, so your name says that you need freedom above everything else, that you have to create your own luck, that you need your own time of privacy, because without privacy, you have to always need it to rebalance yourself, that you can be around people too much, and so you need to withdraw at times, that you have a very logical mind step by step where you can do things. It says that you have fairness issues. You want the world to be fair, but you can stand up for others, but sometimes you have a harder time standing up for yourself, and that you can be a workaholic. And yet when the battery is dead, you go and go and go. But when the battery's dead, once you're down for the night, you're down. You don't want to get up. So that's some of what's in your name.
Awesome. I was born with Sharon, but it didn't fit me. I'm more of a Sharry. And one of my aunts always called me Sharry. That felt like that's my essence. Sharon, which my mother pronounced Sharn, just never seemed right to me.
In the birth name is your contract for your life, and then what you go by is how you present. And we need to take a break. Stay tuned to Know the Name, Know the Genius in You, which is being heard on X Zone Broadcast Network. After the break, we're going to find out a few things you can do to assist your own health from Sharry. Stay tuned.
The views, opinions, and conclusions expressed in the following program are those of the host, guests, and/or callers, and not those of REL-MAR McConnell Media Company, our corporate divisions or entities, the X Zone Broadcast Network, Simul Radio, Simul TV, our staff, management, advertisers, broadcast affiliates, and affiliated broadcast networks.
Welcome back. I'm Sharon Lynn Wyeth, and you're listening to Know the Name, Know the Genius in You, which is being heard on xzbn.net and X Zone Broadcast Network and knowthename.com. Now, our guest tonight is Sharry Edwards, whose website is soundhealthoptions.com. Again, spelled exactly like it sounds, soundhealthoptions.com. Now, I'd like to take this segment to hear about what you feel is important, Sharry, and then next segment to focus in on government people and what you've discovered about them. So we'll do that the next segment. But your work is so incredible, Sharry, and I am such a huge fan. And I find the fact that you can utilize your proven, reliable concepts of bioacoustic voice analysis to expose whether people are telling the truth or not is absolutely amazing. Any interesting stories that you'd like to share when you've tested celebrities and their voices or people that are in the news?
Absolutely. But we have created a workstation online for people to do their own work. And what we're going to talk about now is nano voice. And they can go on soundhealthportal.com and have their own voice done. I think pre-vaccination risk factors is there. We just opened that up for New York people who are just going through horrible time. They're taking children away from their parents if they won't get them vaccinated. So quercetin, a biflavonoid, is something that will help. So we put that up there for people to have free vocal prints.
Spell that for us.
Prevac, Prevac.
Ah, okay.
And if there's a group, we will give them the database for their people to use to test their kids. Biodiet, PTSD, neuroplasticity, all of those are free for people. And there's tutorials there that will teach people what they can do. And then that's in different subjects. So we actually have 2 tracks. One that is personality driven, that we look at partnerships and committees and how people work together. And then there's one that is frequency based, and that's where we look at, well, today we looked at a woman who was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and our computer said she doesn't match any Parkinson's. She matches stiff person syndrome. So we started looking, and we could look at glycine, for instance, and know that that was what was going on. So that's the frequency part of it. To look at personalities, we have to use the nano voice. And let's see, something interesting. How about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? You want to know about her?
Well, we were going to do politics in the next segment, but if you'd like to, go right ahead.
Well, we can save it. That's okay.
Okay. So, well, you had a theme that you wanted to share for tonight's show that you thought it was really important for our audience to know. So I want to give you time to do that during this segment.
Okay, can you remind me what it is, because it's not in front of me?
You wanted to talk about how people can improve their health through your technology and how important that is for what's going on in our world today, that people take charge of their own health.
Well, great. Think of full spectrum light. The plants grow better under full spectrum light. And it's also been proven that they grow better under full spectrum sound, like certain kinds of music. So recently, the United States Research Group decided that they had found a new organ in the body. And when we looked at it, it was actually an old organ out of the Chinese repertoire of medicines called the interstitium. And it's the magnetic potential, and people can have control over this. You ever cut up a chicken and you got that clear, slimy kind of stuff?
No, I saw my mother-in-law chop a chicken's head off and then leave the head over the sink to drain while the body was on the counter, and I stopped eating chicken. So the answer is no.
I think
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Humans have that same system, and it carries the magnetic potential. When you look at very low frequencies, it looks at the magnetics. Anytime there's something electrical, and all your nerves and brain run on an electrical system, so there's also a magnetic system that makes that electrical system behave. The next system up is nutrition. Then we start getting into the physical body and whatever. People can meditate and listen to the sounds in their ears. And when they do that, some people call it tinnitus, but tinnitus is there and very annoying. And this is sometimes beautiful music or just tree frogs or whistles. And it's beautiful. And you listen to it, it puts you in a meditative state that allows you to connect with that magnetic potential. And your body will tell you at that point where you need to go look and clear out. It's an imagination thing for most people, but some people lose connection with their body and go astrally out when they're in that state. We wrote an article about how to reach theta for self-healing, and people can use that. And what's coming out of your ear a lot of the times is white light. Now think of white light as a frequency, but at the same time, it's a biochemical. The very first biochemical that's created is during conception. And it's the very low frequencies that people can hear, down around 15, 16 cycles per second. So when conception takes place, that begins to replicate the DNA and start giving different colors of frequencies. Not all white light, but white light is made up of all the other colors, the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. And they are broken out into spectrums if you look at a prism. But in our body, those different frequencies are used to create and recreate our body until it's complete. Then the body stores the extra ATP in the eyeball. So when you are dying and that's depleting and imploding, you see the white light, and that leads you back to your own beginnings. So being in control of that is white light, and the next one up is an oxygen. Then the next one up is that interstitium, that slimy stuff in the chicken you won't touch. In controlling that, that is the early level of creation from magnetic and electrical. You create that interstitium. And if you can reach that interstitium and connect with it, it's called being in the flow, being in the sound current. You can go in there and program yourself. And you eventually create a body that's very sophisticated and has all of these different frequencies everywhere. Your ankle is the same frequency as iron. Your wrist is the same frequency as zinc. So all of these frequencies you have built from the very beginning, and that makes you. Now along comes stress and depression and electricity and bad food and pesticides, and it tends to mess up your frequencies and cause cancer and debilitation and arthritis. So we have a way of looking at your voice as a holographic representation of all that you are, and we know the signals, the frequencies you need. We give them back to you from outside the body, just with music or sound, and voila, the body heals itself.
Now,
That's
can you do that with people over the phone, Sharry, or do they need to come see you in Ohio?
Yes and no. We can do an evaluation for them and tell them what they need. And if it's something like niacin, they can go to their local health food store and get it. But if they come to us and we use frequency at the same time, it just does things double quick. Now, there's some things you can't get over the counter.
Okay, hold that thought, because we're going to need to take our next break. Stay tuned to Know the Name, Know the Genius in You. Now, this show is dedicated to providing information about the importance of your health and another alternative or way of looking at your health. So after the break, we're going to find out how Sharry Edwards shares information on current leaders as to what their voices are revealing, plus a little bit more on the health that she was just starting to tell us about what is and isn't available over the counter. Now, Sharry has earned that scientific, award of the best scientist of the year, and her work is just remarkable. So stay tuned while we hear more from Sharry Edwards.
The views, opinions, and conclusions expressed in the following program are those of the host, guests, and/or callers, and not those of REL-MAR McConnell Media Company, our corporate divisions or entities, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, Simul Radio, Simul TV, our staff, management, advertisers, broadcast affiliates, and affiliated broadcast networks.
Welcome back. I'm Sharon Lynn Wyeth, and you're listening to Know the Name, Know the Genius in You, which is being heard on xzbn.net and X-Zone Broadcast Network and knowthename.com. Now, our guest tonight is Sharry Edwards, an incredibly authentic, gifted scientist whose website is soundhealthoptions.com and also soundhealthportal.com. Both are worth looking at. Now, we were just talking about before our last break, Sharry, that if somebody needed to come to you in person or whether you could do it over the phone, and you were telling us about you could do some over the phone, but some things were available and some weren't. Please continue.
Well, we were talking about a lady that came in, and she had a dopamine problem, and a dopamine receptor was the issue. The receptor was closed down. That often happens when people have diabetes. Their insulin receptors close down. Now, you can't buy that over the counter, so they have to come to us to get frequencies, especially someone that's paralyzed or has something going on with the actual body system. It's better if they come to us and we can program a tone box for them, but it's very individual and very specific. A lot of times when you go to somebody with tuning forks or in tarot or some kind of machine like that, they try to move everybody to the exact center of the note. Now, that may be somewhere along the line perfection, and we'll all dance the same tune, but I see people who don't have a 440A, they have a 449A, and we can tune into them exactly. And especially if something is very unusual, the computer will tell us what's going on, then we can give that management report to them, and they can give it to their wellness provider and have a direction where to go. But sometimes it's just necessary that we be able to have them with us so we can make absolutely sure we're spot on to exactly what the person needs as a frequency.
So if somebody was interested in doing that, Sharry, would they just contact you through one of your websites?
Well, the first thing they might want to do is go to the Sound Health Workstation, which is the Sound Health portal, and they can leave a vocal print there and ask to have an evaluation, like for PTSD, and it's free, so they can get a taste of it and see what they really want. So we suggest they start there, then they can take our courses, and the first one, I think, is still free, only they're going to be changing that. There's one on the 1st and 2nd, probably every month, so people can just look at the schedule and see where they're going with it. But we would rather teach people to do this for themselves and their family and their neighbors rather than have them come back to us all the time. It's expensive. The classes don't cost much, if anything, and then they can begin to take care of their own community.
Which is an incredible service that you're giving to others. Okay, so this was our segment to talk about the politicians, because we're living in such turbulent times. And to quote your last post off your blog, history tells us that a conqueror wants to take over your country. They take away the ability to gather and communicate, so that's censorship. They cause chaos for the previous leaders, and in this case, that would be Congress. And then they pit citizens against each other. In this case, I would look at that as real versus fake news, so nobody knows what's true anymore. And they destroy previous law and order. In this case, you're looking again at the numerous violent acts against schools, in the bars, and open public spaces. And they destroy your way to defend yourself. And that would show up as our current debate over our Second Amendment, the right to own and bear arms. And if they also want to take over, they starve the population into sickness and fatigue. And we're getting that now with environmental toxins and vaccinations. So, Sharry, your post goes on to say, who's leading this charge? Would you please take all the time this particular segment necessary to explain what you know and how you know it?
Well, I didn't want to be paranoid. I don't want to be paranoid, but I'm finding some connections that are just hair-raising. And I would suggest that people read a little book, a quick one called Animal Farm. And that describes what's going on in America right now. But the biggest news item is the squad. The 4 dark-skinned women who are insisting they have their way with Congress and the people and everybody. And they have stood up and called Trump a racist, a mother effer, a communist, a bigot.
And they've called him a Nazi and all kinds of things.
Yes. And I was asked to look at the 4 women, and I started looking at their voices and what Trump was saying, and I can defeat their platform with one question. Do you think that if it was 4 white women that was saying that about Trump, wouldn't Trump jump on them just as quick?
Yeah, he jumps on everybody when he thinks something's not right.
Yes. So it's not the fact that they have brown skin, it's the fact that they are attacking him and using lies. And some of them are almost true, but this thing, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez said that in the camps on the border, he's making people drink out of toilets. I mean, that is so skewed. It's easily proven false. And when people are doing something that they don't firmly believe in and have a foundation in, they usually lie about the other person and cause chaos. Now, we have a program called Nano Voice. It's on the website, the Portal Workstation website. They can go in and use that anytime. Take a recording and you can see what's really going on. We did AOC voice, and she has no foundation, no issues of control. Her stuff is naive fantasy. And when you look at her file, you can see that, when you compare it to the other people, you can see she's just eye candy. She's the person out front to cause a distraction. She really wants to help people, but the position she's in didn't start with her, isn't her information. She's there just to look good and point the other direction. And I didn't think much about it. Okay, there we are. And then I looked at Ilhan Omar. I'd love you to do her voice. And I was startled. She has the vocal print of an assassin. And I called our attorney and said, can we say this? He said, what kind of an assassin are you talking about? I said, it's like Charlie Manson and Dahmer, whatever his first name was, Jeffrey Dahmer, that he will kill people without any thought of compassion. What's going on is from such a deep level in her, she had to have been started on an education at a very early age. And what she says she's going for is not. Religion's the lowest thing on her list. There's no naivete in her file, no religion, and that's what she's saying. She and I think it's Rashida Tlaib wants Sharia law and Muslim law. Sharia law is where women don't have any rights. There's woman's circumcision. They want Sharia law. That's just totally beyond what America would accept.
Well,
But
what I
all
don't understand is if that's what they want, why do they leave their country to come to our country? If they want to then recreate our country into the image of their country, why didn't they stay if that's what they were really looking for?
Well, three of them are American. Only Omar is Somalian, I think. So she didn't come from a different country. But the lawyer, though, was asking if we could talk about this. He said, do you know what the word assassin comes from? And he gave me two different things to look at. Assassin is a cult that goes out and kills people and is associated with the Muslim language or religion. Those that don't believe, they think they have a right to behead them and get rid of them. And the name of one of these organizational leaders is Rashid. It's Rashida Tlaib with the A not on the end of her name. So it's the same name. And I started tracing this down, and I traced it down to a Zach Epsley, and I did his voice.
Okay, now hold that thought on Zach, and let's talk about him when we come back, because we need to take our last break. Stay tuned to Know the Name, Know the Genius in You on xzbn.net and knowthename.com. Now, after the break, we'll also find out what Sharry Edwards has in her name that has assisted her that you just might have in your name as well. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The views, opinions, and conclusions expressed in the following program are those of the host, guests, and/or callers, and not those of REL-MAR McConnell Media Company, our corporate divisions or entities, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, Simul Radio, Simul TV, our staff, management, advertisers, broadcast affiliates, and affiliated broadcast networks.
Welcome back. I'm Sharon Lynn Wyeth, and you're listening to Know the Name, Know the Genius in You, which is being heard on xzbn.net and X-Zone Broadcast Network and knowthename.com. Now, our guest tonight is Sharry Edwards, who's developed her talents in the area of bioacoustics and has been recognized as Scientist of the Year for 2002 because of her work. You can reach Sharry via her website, soundhealthoptions.com and soundhealthportals.com. Now, Sharry, we were talking or going into, it all comes back to Zach, but that's getting into a lot of politics, and we are just fascinated. Do you have articles on your website where people who want to know more about what you found out about political figures can read them?
More on the website, and I'm writing an article about this, but they can go look at this on their own from the links that we gave them. And they can look at that first level in someone's grant. A good idea would be to put some of our classroom videos here on how to interpret this, because that first line is foundation, second layer is control, and then compassion, so they can see where these people are speaking and where their perspective is. Now, you can just punch a few buttons and get that information if you download the software, but you can use it on the portal if you've got a Mac especially. And you can look at these and see where the people are coming from. Is your kid fibbing to you? Then it's probably going to be in 0 octave. If your husband is trying to tell you some story, then you can see it in -2 octave, where they're trying to control. So the voice laid down in this matrix can tell you where they're coming from. And what Zach absolutely was saying is how they're going into the political system in the U.S. and manipulating people into changing their party and causing people to be running for office that they tricked and fibbed to get them into the primary. It was shocking.
I have read that, and I asked the head of the party that's here in where I'm living in my state, and she said that they are absolutely vetting all of the candidates, regardless, that both sides are doing that. So let's just hope that that's working for them. What are some of the various ways that illnesses show up in your system?
Sour notes in the song, and if we put their voice in a matrix like we're talking about here with the 12 notes at the bottom, C, C sharp, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and we look at 6 octaves up, and if there's a big space, there's a problem. One I'm looking at right now is in C sharp, and they have 146 hits. 42 is normal. So we know there's overactivity in tendons and ligaments, and also in them telling the truth because it's in a fantasy octave. So I would say this person's heading for some kind of arthritis because of where the numbers are laid down on this grid. And we've done many classes on that. People can go get copies at Vimeo.com, Vimeo, just under my name, or I'll send you a couple so people can learn to do this.
Oh, that would be great. And I'm happy to put the link on my site, which is knowthename.com. All you have to go is to today's date and go to the XZBYN show that's listed there, and all the information about Sharry and how to reach her is right there on the schedule page on my website, knowthename.com. Now, Sharry, do you think that honesty and the keeping of your word has a positive effect on health?
Absolutely. I know lying destroys it and really messes up the placement of the numbers, which would equate to melody in an actual song. Think about what would happen if everybody had to tell the truth.
Well, I would hope that they would tell the truth and use tact when doing it.
Well, why can't people say, I don't feel connected to you anymore, I don't want to be married, instead of going out and doing really hurtful things like have affairs and whatever? Why can't we express the language of what we really feel? And it's because nobody would like us. They wouldn't accept us. And one of the things you do in helping people tell the truth based on what their name needs to do and honor their life, it's the same kind of thing. The voice tells you, the name tells you, why don't we get that information when we come in to be able to be truthful? And it's in language. We had a lady, I was supposed to go to her house. A mother called about her baby. I needed to help her, and I was going to be late to this presentation or something. My daughter said, why don't you just tell her we got lost? I'm going to tell her the truth. So when we got there, I said, I'm sorry you had to wait. That's what was the truth for me. I'm sorry I had this other emergency, and I want to make it up to you. So I gave a lot more in that presentation. But we often say, okay, I was late, I got lost, whatever, and that poisons us. I have an idea of how people hear. Words come out your mouth, sounds come out my ear, and when they meet, it's like two pebbles thrown into a pond. They meet, and that combination gives us meaning. And when we hear one thing and what comes as meaning and as understanding is contrary to that, we get very, very confused about what we're supposed to believe.
Are you familiar at all with the medical medium or Anthony Williams' work?
I don't think so.
I was going to say, like I know that you go after tinnitus because we've spoken about that on earlier shows, and what sounds are missing and what minerals or vitamins or whatever that they need to take. And he goes through and he says that it's really Epstein-Barr that's being settled in the ear, and how if you change the foods that you're using or intaking, and if you change that, and he gives a regimen to do, you can get rid of it that way. So I just was wondering if you had, was familiar with his work at all.
No, but we can tell people about nutribiotic grapefruit seed extract that doesn't allow any bacteria to adhere to your body parts. AZO cranberry juice concentrate does the same thing. That's how it gets rid of a bladder infection. It just doesn't allow the infection or virus or whatever it is to adhere. It flushes it out of the body. That should be something, I'm not allowed to prescribe. But I take that every day just so there's no Epstein-Barr, no ear infection, no bladder infection. And it's called an anti-hematoglutinin, HEMAGG, I think, hematoglutinin. It's what they put in vaccines to make the bacteria or whatever it is, virus, adhere and stick to your cells.
Okay, so I'm going to do my best at spelling that, but if you want to email it to me so I can get it correctly to put it down on the website so people can access it, it would certainly be appreciated. Sharry, is there anything else that you're working on? We only have a few seconds left that you'd just like to share really quickly.
Oh, good grief. We're working on so much right now on people who have Parkinson's and have been misdiagnosed. But mainly we're working on teaching people to do this for themselves so that we can be released from the chaos of what's happening medically, and people can stand on this idea of self-health and self-responsibility.
I think it's wonderful what you offer. Thank you so much, Sharry, for being with us.
You are most welcome. It's always great.
Yes. Be prepared, be surprised, and pleased when you experience Sharry Edwards' work. Her website, again, is soundhealthoptions.com and soundhealthportal.com. Now, Sharry's name excels at treasuring her freedom. She also requires a lot of alone time. Now, needing freedom is shown in the combination SH, and it doesn't matter where it lands in your name, first, middle, or last. It means that you like to be freedom. You like freedom. You don't want to be underneath somebody else's thumb. And needing a lot of alone time is indicated by the double R. So if you have either the SH or the RR in your name, then freedom or alone time is also important to you. Do you know where your genius lies? I'm Sharon Lynn Wyeth, host of the radio show, Know the Name, Know the Genius in You, which is heard every weekday at various hours right here on xzbn.net radio, and X-Zone Broadcast Network, and on the schedule page at knowthename.com. If you wish to know about how to read a person's name or more about your own name, visit the website knowthename.com and give yourself the gift of a session to find out what your name says about you and about how knowing what your name means can help you live to your best and highest. So remember that once you know the name, you know all about the person. This is Sharon Lynn Wyeth signing off.